Hey everyone, Jamie Makes here from Miss Paper, and today I'm sharing my 2024 reading journal. I am updating all the sections for July, and I'm creating my monthly overview pages. So I've printed out all of my little book covers. They are all sized to be 1.5 inches tall, and I have printed them multiple times to fit onto the various pages and all the categories that I track in this reading journal. So the first section is just a ongoing list of all the books that I've read so far in the year, and I just continue to add to these couple of pages that are at the very beginning of the album. And you see that I am giving them little star ratings according to a color code, which is here on this first page, which is the calendar page, just so that you can see, just so that I can see when I finish a book and what kind of category the book was in. So was it a general nonfiction book? Was it a fantasy book? Was it a memoir and an autobiography? That kind of thing. And then I just flip page to page and add all the various book covers to their respective sections. I have a section here where I am keeping up with all of the books that I purchase in a given month. I need to print additional pages for that one because I have already filled out what I have and I need to add more. I also keep track of books that are over 500 pages. I keep track of 4-star and 5-star books, which this month is the first. I am adding the first 5-star book into that category. The next section is for my monthly reading recaps, but I do that at the end. So I'm just going to continue to flip through and add all of the book covers to their respective sections if there is any diversity present with the authors. And then I'm going to get into the section where I am categorizing these by their genre, either general fiction, general nonfiction, and then I pull out any autobiography memoirs for its own section. And then the rest are all fiction categories. And for this month, the only fiction categories I read in were fantasy. I didn't read much this month for whatever reason. I think part of it was that last book that I read was very long. It was over 700 pages. And I DNF'd 2 books this month for various reasons. If you're interested in knowing when and why I DNF books, let me know. And maybe I'll do something about that in this album or just kind of speak to it. But I don't DNF very often. So especially 2 books in a month was kind of a lot for me. And I'm in this last section of the first part of the album, or I'm in the last section of the album, which is all of the book covers categorized by the color of the book cover. I love keeping track that way. So I'm flipping back to the beginning section to start going through and putting together my monthly recap page. So this is a printable I have available in my Etsy shop. And I print 12 of these for a given year, and I'm documenting all the books that I read in a specific month. So there's options on here if you want to create a page about books you've read over the entire year or books you've read over a specific week. And there's also some information you can fill out about the number of books you've read, whether or not they were digital pages or audiobooks. There's a section about nonfiction versus fiction, and also like a total page count. This month I only read 5 books, like I mentioned, so it's not, the book covers aren't filling up as much of the page as they normally do, because usually I read about 7 or 8 books a month. And so I have a really big section down at the bottom to play with, which is kind of fun because I can use some of the larger embellishments and stamping and all that good stuff. I have a little bit more room to play with that. First thing I did was note on the page using a zig dot marker that these are the books that I read this month. And then I gave the book, my favorite book of the month, a 5-star rating, and I just indicated that there. I pulled a variety of items from my stash to put this page together. I kind of went through all of it off screen and just lightly played with where I thought things could go, but I didn't have like a very specific vision for what this page would look like. I'm just playing with the product and the limited amount of product that I pulled, and then also playing with just a few of my stamp sets as well. I knew that I wanted to use a quote from an Ali Edwards stamp to put in the top left next to the title. I left that page, or that left that part of the layout intentionally blank so that you could have a bit of decor up there at the top. And I liked this quote because it said something about it being not about the quantity of the story, which is very appropriate for this month since there's only 5 books here. And I did a bit of layered stamping. So I'm stamping in yellow an open book with little lines to kind of indicate text. And then over that, I'm going to layer the quote from the Ali Edwards stamp. And I'm going to stamp over the top of it in this kind of deeper red ink. I like just having a layered effect there because otherwise it just kind of feels like it's floating in space. I think having the layered stamping helps it to not look like it's just floating up there in the corner. It grounds it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I am flipping through my various stamps, just kind of trying to decide what could go where. Oh, nope, let me go back and say that I'm adding the date, the month actually, to the top there. So it's really quick and easy to know that these are all the books that I read in July. And I was initially going to stamp that first, but I wanted to lay out all of the various embellishments and things that I was thinking of using first so I could know what color to use, what color of ink I should use for the month. And I decided for this pretty kind of periwinkle blue because it balances out one of the books in the book stack on the left and that little library card on the right. So I have a nice little visual triangle of that color. In one of the book stamps that I have, it has this really awesome like smattering of stars. And I just think it's so perfect to layer again into the back of your layout because it adds a little bit of visual detail and it doesn't add too much. And it's just something, again, to kind of ground the layout and pull it together. So I stamped it in 3 different places. And now I am going to be gluing down all of the die cuts that I had pulled to incorporate onto this page. A lot of these are printables that I've purchased from In a Creative Bubble and printed out and hand cut myself because I didn't at that point have a Silhouette Cameo that was working properly. I do now, but it was a matter of hand fussy cutting out some of these. This is a newer collection from In a Creative Bubble. I really, really love this. These are actually meant to be 3x4 cards, but I printed them out really tiny. I think half the size, if not a third of the size. And I just love having all of the sentiments and the colors available to utilize in this specific project. Because if I were to print them at 3x4, there's no way they would fit into this project. Maybe I could cut off like half of it somehow if the design lent itself to that. But I really love having just these mini little cards to play with. And I am going through the stamp sets that I had pulled, just seeing where and what I could add in kind of some of the blank spaces that are available. I pulled a stamp that says, "Finish this," and has a little checkbox with a check mark in it. And I'm going to put that down at the bottom. I wanted some black down at the bottom just to balance out all of the black text in print that is at the top of the layout. I wanted to make sure to draw that down. And I have you see the story die cut that's there, that beautiful pink die cut. That is actually something from a very old Brandy Kincaid for Feed Your Craft die cut pack that I had thought I would use on something else. So there was glue on the back of it, and I peeled it up from that previous project, put it back in with the other die cuts, And so it's a little, not wonky, but maybe a little rumpled. I don't mind that at all. I'm happy that I have it to use because I think it spreads across the page nicely and it connects the left and the right sides of this layout, because otherwise there'd just be kind of a big blank in the middle and nothing to kind of bridge the gap between them. And I think that the script of it with its organic shape really helps to connect the two and add a little bit of a different type of embellishment, a different type of pattern, because it's text, that goes really great alongside some of these more boxy, blocky looking embellishments. I like having that mix. And so I'm just adhering it to its permanent home on this layout. I had also done another bit of stamping. I think it said Book Nerd just above this. And I wanted to add one more thing because I felt like there was a lot of blank space between this line of embellishments and then also the book covers above it. But I don't want to add too much or overwhelm it. I really like the sentiment on this little chipboard piece, but it was too much of the same color and I wanted more contrast. So I tried playing around to see if I could fit it anywhere else. And instead of using that aqua one, I instead opted for another kind of periwinkle looking one. And I think that it is the perfect little end here to bring this whole section together and not overcrowd or overshadow the pretty little book covers. And to finish it off, I am just finishing writing in the section that tells me how many books I read, what formats I've read, whether they're fiction or nonfiction, etc. I posted photos of this project over on Instagram at Misc Paper. That's MISC Paper. You can also click the link in my YouTube banner. For info on the product I use, check out the links in the description box on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please be sure to like it and or subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you. Jamie Makes, signing off.